South African troops are already in northern Mozambique to assist quell a deadly jihadist insurgency that is causing havoc there. Nearly 1,500 SANDF troops will remain in the region until the end of October, and this will cost South Africa over, wait for it, 983 million rand. The president told Parliament in a letter that last week. But Mozambique's main opposition party, Renamo, has accused its president, Philip Nyusi, of violating the constitution by inviting foreign forces into the country without first obtaining Parliament's approval. Here at home, we have budget cuts that have affected the Defence Department's budget. So we ask, where exactly is this funding coming from? And I wonder, if that stay is extended as part of that SADC stand by force, how much more will it cost the Republic of South Africa? Well, let's unpack all of this with the African Defence Review Director, John Stupart. John, good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday View. Just two sides to the story that I wanted to explore. Can we start with the defence budget of South Africa? I mean, we've heard of it being cut. We know that there's a lot of challenges that the South African National Defence Force is facing, yet we're spending about 983 million rand with these 1,500 troops on the ground as part of the SADC obligation, I guess, that South Africa has. I mean, where's this money coming from?
Well, that's the 983 million rand question, I guess. The simple answer is we don't know. The simple answer is until we do know, that bill is essentially going to be paid for by the Defence Force, because in the short term it's going to be the Defence Force who needs to put petrol in the fuel tanks, they need to put food in the trucks, they need to pay their soldiers, and they need to essentially fund this deployment until Treasury tells them otherwise. We haven't seen anything clear from National Treasury indicating that they are going to compensate the South African National Defence Force for this deployment, which, to be honest, it's almost outright lunacy that there isn't clarity on this before we actually deploy these troops out there. It's no secret that the Defence Force itself simply doesn't have the money. At the moment, we're essentially cannibalizing parts to service trucks and aircraft that have been deployed to this. It's a very expensive deployment involving aircraft and troops, and even one of our ships from the Navy. And all of this comes at a cost that's not just financial, and there really is no real clarity either from the Ministry of Defence or from National Treasury as to just where the money is going to come from outside of the Defence Force. Because the reality is, if the Defence Force has to pay this, it'll sink them. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, because even in the letter that I saw last week that the president wrote to the speaker, Methandi Modise, he just says we have employed 1,495 troops from the SANDF, and this is estimated, those are the words he uses in the letter, to cost, estimated to cost about 983 odd million rand, and it's for 3 months. But from what we've heard, I mean, the local insurgency in northern Cabo Delgado province has been going on since 2017, and the Americans and everybody else says they are being funded by IS. So you've got that jihadist element of foreign funding. It's not going to be a battle that's going to be won in 3 months.
I'd be very surprised if it was. The early indications, I mean, unconfirmed reports we've seen, is that there are the insurgents are not simply rolling over and giving up, and in fact, far from it, they might be actually putting up a bit of resistance initially. I think maybe, if I had to plan this counterinsurgency myself, maybe the intention is to try and wrap this up and defeat the insurgents before the rainy season in Mozambique begins again, because essentially after that there's going to be very little movement on both sides, because the routes of transport up in northern Mozambique in the best of times are difficult, but in the rainy season are simply impossible, I would imagine, to move large amounts of troops. So to now try and do this, and sorry, carry on.
Yeah. No, I say, I was just using that as an example because the letter to from the president to Parliament last week was saying 3 months, and I'm thinking, are they going to be over and done in 3 months? I don't know. I mean, I know that South Africa is funding its component of soldiers there. Angola is doing the same. They're part of that. But you also have got the Rwandan soldiers on the ground, that 1,000 Rwandan soldiers who went in there just before the SADC force went in, and apparently being financed by France. And I was beginning to think, could South Africa go and knock on some somebody's door like France and says, can you help us a little bit with the 983 million rand odd change, please?
Well, I think there's a lot of, well, there's not a lot, but there are several avenues for funding that would require foreign assistance. If we ignore political considerations for a second, and SADC would make an appeal perhaps to the European Union, would be the first one to my mind, or even the United States. This could absolutely be funded as part of their foreign funding.
And it could work. The EU, the EU
could absolutely work.
Yeah, because President Nyusi last year was knocking on the EU door and said, we need help as the war was hotting up.
And the EU has done, frankly, miracles by funding the African Union mission in Somalia to no insignificant part. They've been major sponsors of that. And I think the gains that they have made in promoting a sort of democratic, stable, safe and secure Somalia, which is by no means established yet, but we've never seen such progress in the 21st century. I think the roadmap is there. And I think it would be very unwise of SADC to not consider that. Now, obviously, like I said, there are political considerations for this, which Rwanda clearly don't mind so much, and that really threw the sort of cat in the pigeon loft for SADC. But I think for SADC, the reality is, unless the member nations somehow scratch at the back of the couch for extra coins, I don't know where else this money is coming from.
Yeah, I think the EU might be the answer. We'll have to wait and see. We'll continue exploring those kind of angles here on the Midday View on eNCA into the future. Thank you very much, John Stupart from the African Defence Review. He's the director there.